Rachel. Hello, Rachel. The one who got me in trouble for the last 2 weeks. Thanks a lot. I love my husband, Andrew, because he's not nice. I'm not nice. He is good. He's good. Those are different things. Great stuff. I'm going to tell you why that's bullshit. Okay. Because perfect is boring for women. He's not nice and you're hot for him because he's not nice. He's not good. You can be good and not nice. You can be bad and not nice. So I think there's Sammy, can you go to rationalmail.com and pick up give me the link to it's on the tip of my tongue. The myth of the good guy is what it's called. The myth of the good guy. I've actually written about this, Rachel. You don't want a good guy. You want a guy who can, well, I mean, you do, but I mean, ideally you do, but that guy doesn't exist. Andrew's not a good guy. He's not nice, but he's not a good guy. And I think that there's this want to have this sort of amalgamation. Thank you for that. I got it now. The myth of the good guy. Will you put that in the chat for me, Sam? The myth of the good guy. I wrote this in 2014. Wow. September 1st, 2014. And I won't read the whole thing for you, but Sammy just put it up there. Thank you for that, Sam. Myth of the good guy is that there's this idea that women say, well, I want an alpha with a side of beta. Or I want a guy who has equal parts of kind, caring, loving, nurturing, protector, provider, parentally invested guy, beta bucks, with the perfect guy who looks like Jack Reacher, Alan Richter. I need Jason Momoa who can fuck the shit out of me and not be a nice guy. And what is it? Was Justin Waller saying you got to be the guy who can slit throats and change a diaper. Like that guy doesn't exist in the same dude. At least if it doesn't, he doesn't exist at the same time. And that's what that essay is about. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you could call it a good guy. It's always this comfortable, like happy. There's this want for this happy medium who's like the best of both worlds. The problem is that, and I write about this in the essay, is that when a guy is predominantly alpha and he goes a little bit beta, or he does a 180, you're like, what's wrong with it? Because he's being incongruent. And the same thing applies when a guy is more predominantly beta and he goes and he's like, well, fuck this, I'm going to be alpha now. That's the women who hate guys in the red pill. Well, that's the first thing they'll say. These guys are weesh pussy betas, and Myron and Rolo try to convince them that they need to be alpha males. These alpha male podcasts. That's not what we're trying to do. But the reason why women get upset about that is because what we're doing, or they think that we're doing, we're not, but they think that we are trying to convince beta males that no woman would ever want to fuck in the first place to think that they are alpha, and to take to not have like earned their stripes, right? Or not earned their cred or whatever, and go out and try to chat up or try to approach women who they wouldn't otherwise approach and put the ick on them. And that's really what it boils down to. You're trying to convince these guys, these loser guys, that there's something that they're not. The reason why that's offensive is because, well, as I said, women's threshold for sexual revulsion is way higher than guys. So when it's offensive to women that Myron ostensibly would say something like, well, men need to be more alpha. I don't think he's ever said that. And by the way, Myron has never called himself an alpha. In fact, if anything, he's resisted that for a long time. I've only ever facetiously and jokingly referred to myself as a lesser alpha. And that's because if you know anything about Royce's old designations, it used to be an inside joke that used to be funny back in 2012, 2014. Now people are like, what is wrong? I think he's a lesser alpha. No, because never mind. But the idea is that women want an alpha with a side of beta. You don't, because that side of beta ends up making him incongruent. Or they want a beta with a side of alpha. And that's usually the most common. Like, I want a nice guy, and he's sweet to me, and he's funny, and he takes care of my needs, and he's emotionally available, and yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then I want him to also be able to turn into Jack Reacher whenever I want him to be. Jason Momoa. Now that he's single. I want him to turn into Justin Waller on demand. That's beta with a side of alpha. And the problem is that guy is never believable. Either one of them, it's never really believable. The guy who's alpha, who shows a side, who flashes a little bit of beta, that guy's more endearing. But if he constantly does that, then yeah, it's incongruent. Women want congruency. They want to know, like, I tried to explain this to the ladies on Access Vegas when we're talking about shit tests. And a lot of the women didn't want to believe that there was such a thing as a shit test until like a couple of the girls copped to shit testing guys. And it was John from It's Complicated. He was on the show with us. He was our male guest. He was a really good dude. I would love to go and do some more work with him. He was actually kind of an interesting guy. They were talking about shit tests, and people are like, I don't shit test. No, you do. You just don't know that you're doing it. What do you mean I don't know what I'm doing? Yeah, you don't. Just like guys don't. Guys will simp and not know that they're simping. Why would it be such a stretch for women to like shit test guys and not know that they're shit testing them? They don't want to ever think that a guy's got them figured out and they got something on them. That's why. And guys don't like it either, but it is what it is. But guys are more open to having somebody criticize them for simping than women are for criticizing them and giving a shit test, like subconsciously, like without unthinkingly doing it. But that was the whole thing. And I tried to explain it's like there's two different kinds of shit tests, really. There's the passive shit test, and then there's the active shit test. The active shit test is when you're single and you're at a bar and you just met the girl for the first time, or you had a social outing, or you met her after a gig. And there's this banter that goes back and forth. It's like this sort of, it's what I've called it conversational fencing or verbal fencing, right? Because I'm a fencer, right? It's thrust, parry, riposte, thrust again, attack, flèche, oh God. Like it's being able to conversationally fence with a woman shows that you get it. And you know how to, you have the social skills to say, I know what you're doing, but rather than call it out, I'm going to riposte with this. I know what you're doing. You know that I know what you're doing. And now I'm going to respond with this. And so it's this back and forth. And again, if you want to read more about that, it's in this book right here. Not how to do it, but why you're doing it in the first place. This is not a how-to book. This is a why it works book. And that's the part of the conversation, right? You got to be congruent, first of all. And then second of all, it's like the reason why you're getting that shit test in the first place is because she's trying to figure out if you are the real deal. Are you the guy who you seem to look like? Like I've said this God knows how many times, and I've had so many fucking black pill doomers like, oh, Rollo's fake. He's homosexual, blah, blah, blah. I've said this before. If you saw a guy who looks like, let's say, for example, you got Alan Richter or you got The Rock, right? And you put that guy in a slingshot bikini, or you put him in a tutu, like The Rock in like the Tooth Fairy movie. I think that's what it was. And we laugh at that and go, oh, The Rock. And the reason why that's funny is because it's the fucking Rock. And he's in a little kid's like ballet tutu dress. And I'm the Tooth Fairy, right? That kind of thing. The reason why it's funny is because it's incongruent with what we expect when we see a guy that looks like The Rock. If you see a guy that looks like Alan Richter and he's in a, sling bikini or whatever it is, he's probably at Pride Week. He's probably in some rainbow parade. That's what we're thinking at that time, because it's incongruent with what we would expect from a guy that looks like that. He's probably, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And so, but it's incongruent. And that's why it's funny, because it's not what we expected from that guy. And that's really what a shit test is meant to determine. Is this guy really who he looks like he is? Talks like he is? Can he carry a conversation? Or is he a really good looking dude who's kind of a spurg, who's just sort of learning how to do this stuff, right? Or, so that's the active shit test. The passive shit test is usually what's given to you once you're in a relationship. It's when your wife or your girlfriend or whatever is trying to determine if you are really the best she could have done or the best she can do. So he's not meeting my needs. So what am I going to do? I'm going to give him a shit test to see if he's really the best I could do. Because if he's not, then I either need to divorce him or break up with him while I'm still hot enough to get another dude. That's basically a passive shit test. So nagging is really a shit test when you think about it. You didn't mow the lawn. A real man would have mowed the lawn. My mom was right about you. You're never going to amount to anything like that. That's a shit. Sucks to be you, but that's a shit test, because what it is it's I'm insecure and I don't think you're going to be there for me. And I don't think you could protect me, provide for me, or be parentally invested. God forbid, you can't do it for me. You can't do it with our kids, right? It's this insecurity about long-term security. And rather than having the conversation, which will never take place anyways, but rather than have the conversation about it, it is brought up in a shit test. In fact, it's almost easier for me to like tell guys how to counter a active shit test than it is to have an inactive or a passive shit test. Passive shit test is almost always delivered by your wife or your girlfriend. And it's meant to determine if you're the best she can do. Active shit test, is he really who he says he is? Is he really a lawyer? Is he really a surgeon? Is he really a business owner? Or is he just trying to bullshit me and this is a rented Lamborghini and he's really a sandwich artist at Subway? He's a barista. Because it's easy to fake like cues of high status these days, especially with Instagram, right? Especially with digital photography. Face app, very easy. Very easy. Ladies, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Very easy to fake that shit because perception is everything. It's just fucking pixels on a screen. So there has to be something that's a filter. And that's really, you want to know, like when women say, oh, I have feminine intuition. Feminine intuition, shit testing ability. That's what I call the hypergamous filter. Is he really the best you can do? Is he really who he says he is? The reason why The Bachelor is, well, Bachelorette is a bachelor or bachelorette. The reason why The Bachelorette, no, Bachelor. The reason why The Bachelor is as popular as it is because it plays on that feminine intuition. Is he really who he says he is? I don't know if that guy's for real. Cheaters, right? Oh, is he cheating on me or is he not? Like that indignation, that thrill, that fucking adrenaline rush, that endorphin kick, not dopamine, endorphin kick that you get by trying to figure out if the Tinder swindler is actually an agent. I've tried to figure him out. Maybe if we took out one more bank loan for him, we'll figure out if he's for real. Said the 32-year-old woman.